Good evening, folks. Today we're going to be talking about a recent controversy that erupted between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, or rather Kannadigas and Kamal Haasan specifically, and how the judiciary, more than that, how the judiciary responded to it, and whether judicial system in our country requires a bit of a overhaul. That's a question that I wanted to uh, put forward in your minds, right? So let's start with what actually happened for a context. So the most of Indians will know what really happened, but I'll just recap that very quickly. In one of the events pre-release of his movie called Thuglife, Kamal Haasan had invited Mr. Shivraj Kumar from Karnataka, who's a top actor here, as a chief guest. And while addressing him and the audience, he made a statement that your language came out of us, or he essentially meant Kannada came out of Tamil Nadu, or kind of said Tamil becomes the, let's say, mother language of Kannada. Now, obviously, this created a lot of furor among the Kannadiga population, and they basically said, "No, what you're saying is a lie, and you should apologize." Right now, then Kamal Haasan said, "No, I will not apologize. I had no malice or intent to ill-treat you people or the language at all. So there is no need for me to apologize." So that's where it was. Then uh, Chief Minister of Karnataka, Siddaramaiah, and other people, political parties mainly got involved and said, okay, you are ignorant of history and linguistics. So you have no, I mean, your comment is baseless or we don't agree with it, etc. So a lot of fringe elements, some political fringe element parties and other people, and even in general, a lot of Kannadigas felt a little insulted with the statement that Kamal made, that they demanded an apology, without which they said your movie Thug Life will not be released in Karnataka. And the Karnataka Film Chambers, or the body that is in charge of releasing movies here, also went ahead with a ban that without apology we cannot allow you to release the movies in Karnataka. Now, Kamal Haasan had no choice but to go to Karnataka High Court, right, and ask for protection, saying, I want to release my movie. I'm not sure whether the movies will be or the theaters will be safe or the movie will be able to release. So I want you to order the state police and the government to ensure there's enough protection that nobody is harmed or the movie can be screened peacefully for people to go and watch. Now that is quite of kind of normal for what he or either he could have apologized or done this, but that's his personal choice. I don't want to comment on what he should have done or otherwise. Now, coming to the specific point of what happened. Uh, okay, before that, uh, we'll get into this Tamil versus Kannada debate on the language origin. That is a little different. But what happened in the High Court just 2 days before, or 2, 3 days before the release of the movie, which was slated on June 5th? Karnataka High Court judge, he basically went over the remit of what a judge or any lawyer would do. And even he played to the gallery by asking Kamal Haasan and his lawyer, effectively asking him, why can't you apologize and we will release the movie? Why are you coming here? You want to make money out of Karnataka, but you will not say apologize or you will not say sorry for what you uttered, right? And he gave examples of how C. Rajagopalachari had apologized in 1950s, etc. And the fact that your freedom of speech has infringed upon the sentiments of the people and they're all eventually hurt. Now, obviously, language is very close to everybody's heart, right? Language is very close, or their place of birth is very close to them. Same with water and couple of other resources that are very dear to them, including nationality, for example. Right? Speaking against that generally triggers your natural instincts of anger. Obviously, you end up fighting and arguing against anyone who insults some of these things, and that is not new. In fact, it is expected that it will incense you in some form. So that is not a huge issue. What I'm having an issue with is a very learned judge with a lot of experience sitting in a courtroom presiding the proceedings, who is expected to be not partisan or parochial to a certain side, but only discuss the angles of the law and decide accordingly. But while he said that he will act according to the law, a lot of his comments were found to be extrajudicial and completely unjustifiable. And that is my opinion, even now when I hear the audio or video recordings of what he spoke, right? And this is not a criticism, this is my opinion. So don't put me under contempt of court order. That is, I don't have the ability to fight you guys, but I'm just passing my opinion. Now, this is something that I don't quite like, because this has been happening quite often in the judiciary system in our country, right? The judge eventually decides what is freedom of speech, what is not freedom of speech, according to their understanding or whims and fancies. Now, this is a democracy, right? We elect the prime minister, the parties, your MLAs, and everybody. Now, how are these judges appointed? It's mostly they appoint themselves, right? From Supreme Court judges to transfers to High Court judges. They have something called as a collegium system, where the Supreme Court has a collegium, High Court has a collegium, and they elect and appoint certain judges and people. Now, these judges, there is absolutely no transparency in the way they themselves are getting appointed. Now, in 2014, Narendra Modi government, I think they tried to pass a bill or a law called National Judicial Appointments Commission (NJAC) to replace the collegium with a panel including judges, law minister, and civil society academics and members. In 2015, the Supreme Court struck it down as unconstitutional, saying it compromised judicial independence. Fine. Now, nobody is arguing the fact that judiciary has to be independent, just like election commission has to be independent. Similarly, your judiciary system can be independent because you're also hearing cases from the government, and government is a party to a lot of cases that are running, right? So that is understandable. But they never had any intention to sit and discuss with the government to find a way, even if you, let's say, didn't agree to certain provisions of the bill that was proposed. What they could have done is they could have said, okay, I don't agree with these philosophies, etc. Yes, I'm also involved. We'll have some changes or ratifications in such a way that it is agreeable to us, so that there is some kind of sanity, or let's say sanity, meritocracy, or some transparency in terms of how these people are even appointed, right? I mean, that is something that is completely missing. Now, we as individuals and voters, we get to decide which party comes to power and which person in that party is, standing for, let's say, chief minister or etc. We get to know that, right? That is not a problem. But the appointments of these judges and stuff is completely black, opaque, and non-transparent, right? So these people act as if they're not judges. More than judges, they act as if they are the kings of the society who can't be questioned by anyone. That is something that I don't personally agree with. In a country where crores and crores of cases are languishing and people are in jails and the cases are yet to be heard, right? The amount of days these judges, first of all, work itself is very, very low. Supreme Court, for example, works approximately 190 to 200 days. High courts work approximately 200 to 220 days. District courts work approximately 230 to 240 days. Now, this is much lower than what a LKG student will go and attend classes. Right? They take 2 months of holidays, maybe, April, May, and back in June, and then about 10-15 days in December. So that's like 60-70 days off is what maximum even children in school take. But these judges in a country where cases are piling up, and you keep complaining that, law has to be equal for people and we have to deliver judgments, etc. You're overloaded with cases, then why are you taking so many leaves? Right? I don't understand. I'm not a constitutional expert, so I cannot comment a little more deeper. But as a layman, my intention is to open this to people to start thinking: is this actually even fair? Similarly in Calcutta, there was a judge who questioned the freedom of speech of a lady who heard the sentiments of Muslims, right? And then another judge came and overturned it. It's completely arbitrary. I don't understand why there are no principles in terms of what the Supreme Court can say. Hey, this is how your ruling should be. This is considered as freedom of speech. This is considered as overarching or a transgression. The guidelines itself is not pretty clear. If it's not there in the Constitution, somebody needs to define it, and Supreme Court typically takes that role. the next Supreme Court judge comes, tries to change it, and somebody else comes and says, I don't agree with it. Different high courts have different rulings on the same types of cases. It's completely arbitrary. Looking at, even how divorce cases are handled, alimony cases are handled. Everybody takes a different route. It's just completely left to how the individual judge interprets a particular case rather than something written down clearly so that somebody can have a reasonable expectancy of fairness and expectancy of fair outcome. That seems to be lost in the judiciary system today, which is exactly my point. Now, I will not comment and criticize a little further because even I don't know how my views are going to be taken, but I'm not a very famous person. Nobody really cares probably for what I say. But I think that in this specific case of Kamal Haasan's Thug Life, I think the judge definitely went beyond his remit in terms of what he had to do as a judge, right? Anyway, the case is coming up next for June 10th. We don't know what is going to happen. Since the movie is also probably not doing well, Kamal Haasan may choose not to even release in Karnataka. We don't know what that is going to happen. So this judiciary system definitely needs a reform. So recently, I think Vice President also made a comment and criticized the Supreme Court's monopoly. I think saying, you cannot arbitrarily decide that this is how it should be done, etc. There is a judge who's accused of taking bribe. Of course, the judiciary system, as we all know, in India, most systems are corrupt, and judiciary system is it's not exempt, right? It's they are part of the society, and they are also reasonably known, alleged that they are also reasonably corrupt, and law can be bought by the powerful people, and that is pretty much known. There was a judge in whose house they found, I don't know, crores of money, and what people were sleeping over it for like 2.5 months, wondering what needs to be done. And Supreme Court says that I want independence in terms of appointment of judges, that is the collegium system. But they're saying we cannot fire him. You need to call for a parliamentary session, and then more than 50% of the people need to vote for his impeachment. So I don't understand. Look at the hypocrisy in terms of appointment versus impeachment. I don't understand this. Maybe there is a reason behind it, but just defeats my senses and or understanding in terms of how people would decide like that, right? Someone is corrupt. Oh, worst case, what will happen is he'll be impeached. I don't know. I mean, no action is taken against him immediately. Why can't we just arrest the judge and put him behind bars? I think the only judge I think who went to jail was Justice Karnan from Tamil Nadu, who refused to apologize to Supreme Court and chose to spend time in the jail. I think he got released just a few weeks ago. But apart from that, I mean, essentially, what I'm saying is even judges are not above the law. They also need to have some kind of a standard. They also need to be judged. They also need to be vetted. You cannot have some kind of a free reign where you get to do whatever you want, and then you get to preside and adjudicate based on whims and fancies. Right? That is exactly my point. As for the origin of which language is older, which language is newer, Tamilians will obviously say we are the origin of the language, and Kannada can be a daughter or a sister or a brother, whatever it is. Kannadigas will say no. My language came much before even Tamil came. What you people can do is you get all your linguistic experts. Both people can sit and argue about it, and it can actually be quite educational for non-linguistic people like us. Common people like us can get to learn so many things, right? I ended up watching quite a lot of YouTube videos of people arguing on either side, in Tamil, little bit in Kannada as well, based on what I could understand. It was very fascinating for a layman like me to even follow the history of a language, how things evolved and who wrote what, etc. Like from Caldwell to Ellison, to a bunch of other things, etc. was very fascinating. I really think both parties should probably sit and debate if they think it makes sense to establish the order of linguistic evolution or whatever they call it, right? That's one aspect of it. Secondly, while language is dear to you and it's the immediate form of expression for any human, right? The minute we start thinking, we think in language, based on, and mostly it is in the mother tongue for people like us. But I can tell you, with the TFR falling below 2.1 in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and most South Indian states, uh, And the fact that our children or even people of my generation don't speak much of their own Tamil, their own mother tongue, for example, whether it's Tamil or Kannada, I sense that if this fertility rate of 1.7, 1.8, 1.6 continues in the southern states, it's very simple mathematical extrapolation, right? In about maybe 200 to 400 years, even these languages have a high chance of becoming extinct because your children are not speaking anymore. They are definitely not reading those languages, and there is very less prevalence of them even talking. So among them, when they talk, let's say my children and bunch of other my cousins, children, etc., a lot of times the interaction is in English and not in their mother tongue. And I can tell you this much: in 1996 to 2000, when I was in North India pursuing my engineering degree in Pilani, the Tamil gang had a organization called Pilani Tamil Mandram. Andhra people had some Andhra Samiti. Mallu people uh, had a gang. I think it's called Kairali. Yeah, it was called Kairali, etc. A lot of people who came from Bangalore, only people from Bangalore, of course, came to Pilani. None of them ever spoke Kannada. Right, that is something that I observed, and I don't think they even had a set of, let's say, a group formed for promoting Kannada's culture or heritage also in that campus. I mean, it could be an exception, but even we didn't see them talking in their own language in those days. So one of the ways the language can actually proliferate and also even continue to be in existence is when people actually talk, converse, and transact. If that doesn't happen, it will become like Sanskrit and Latin or Greek, for example, and people will not speak much if it is not transacted or used by people. That is as simple as that. And I sense that the kind of chauvinism people are developing over a language is a little too overwhelming for anybody to live a peaceful life. People should think about it. Yes, promote your language, keep it going, but beating people who don't speak in that language in a particular place, etc., is definitely not a great way to promote your own language. What do you stand for is something that people should really think. So that's pretty much what I had to talk today. Mostly, I was a little upset with the way the judiciary is operating in our country. Thanks to this case, it was, I thought I'll speak about it, or even the case of the money being found in the Delhi High Court judge who got transferred after that. But I think people need to wake up, and I think government also needs to start acting on establishing some kind of a common template by which judges are appointed, dismissed, or even punished if they do something wrong. As for the languages, let the debate continue. Cheers. I'll see you around next time.